Maya.
Maya?
His voice cracked on her name.
Alive?
You're alive?
5 years, Maya.
All the
5 years.
carefully
I thought my
rehearsed
mother said
lies
you left
evaporated. Maya couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. Couldn't do anything but stand there as David's face cycled through shock, confusion, and something that looked like pain. I'll just... James backed out of the room, pulling the door closed. 5 years. David's hands clenched into fists. 5 years, Maya. 5 years. I thought, my mother said you left with someone else. That you took money and, he stopped, really looking at her now. At her too thin frame. Her worn clothes. Her desperate eyes. What happened to you? I need this job. The words tumbled out before she could stop them. I came for the job. I shouldn't have, this was a mistake. A job. David's laugh was bitter. You disappeared for 5 years and you came back for a cleaning position at my company? I didn't know it was yours. I mean, I did, but I didn't think. Like this? Hit subscribe. Comment where you're watching from, and let's build this Prime Story Hub community together. The story's just getting started. Let's continue. Maya's hands trembled as she pressed the wet cloth against Leo's burning forehead. The motel room smelled of mildew and desperation, the kind of scent that clung to everything she owned. Outside, Seattle's rain hammered against the single window, each drop a reminder of how far she'd fallen. Mama, Leo whispered, his voice barely audible over his rattling cough. It hurts to breathe. Her heart clenched. 4 years old. Her baby was only 4 years old, and she couldn't even afford the medicine the clinic had prescribed. The pharmacist's words echoed in her mind, that'll be $87. She had $23 to her name. $23 between her son and relief. I know, sweetheart. I know. She kissed his damp curls, feeling the heat radiating from his small body. Mama's going to fix this. I promise. Leo's eyes, those impossibly dark eyes that looked exactly like his father's, fluttered closed. Maya's chest tightened. 5 years. 5 years of running, hiding, surviving. 5 years of pretending David Chen didn't exist, that she hadn't loved him with everything she had, that she hadn't been forced to choose between him and protecting their unborn child. She reached for the newspaper on the nightstand, its pages wrinkled from her desperate searching. There, circled in red pen, Chen Industries, janitorial position, immediate hire. The universe had a cruel sense of humor. Of all the companies in Seattle, of all the jobs she could apply for, it had to be his. But Leo's cough cut through her hesitation. She didn't have the luxury of pride anymore. Ms. Rivera? Maya knocked softly on the door 3 rooms down. The older woman who ran the shelter program had been kind to them, kinder than most. Could you watch Leo for an hour? I have a job interview. Ms. Rivera's weathered face softened when she saw Leo's flushed cheeks. Of course, Mija. You go. I'll keep him cool. Maya changed into her only professional outfit, a blouse with a small stain she tried to bleach out and pants that hung looser than they had a month ago. In the cracked bathroom mirror, she barely recognized herself. Hollow cheeks. Shadows under her eyes. This wasn't the woman David had fallen in love with. This was what survival looked like. The bus ride to downtown took 40 minutes. 40 minutes of rehearsing lies. Why did you leave your last position? Because I was hiding from my ex-husband's mother, who threatened to destroy my family. Where have you been working? Diners, laundromats, anywhere that paid cash and didn't ask questions. What are your long-term goals? To keep my son alive. Chen Industries rose 32 stories above the Seattle skyline, all glass and steel and money. Maya stood on the sidewalk, frozen. Somewhere in that building, David was living the life his mother had planned for him. The life that didn't include a waitress from Tacoma and her sick child. You going in or what? A businessman brushed past her, annoyed. Maya forced her feet to move. The lobby was marble and crystal, the kind of place where her worn shoes squeaked against polished floors. A receptionist with perfect makeup glanced up, her smile professionally neutral until she took in Maya's appearance. The smile thinned. I'm here about the janitorial position, Maya said, hating how small her voice sounded. Fill this out. The receptionist slid a clipboard across the desk without making eye contact. Someone will call you. Maya's hand shook as she wrote Maya Peterson on the application. Her maiden name. The name she'd been using for 5 years, the name that had kept Diane Chen's investigators from finding her. Mostly. She'd seen them twice. Once in Portland, a man in a dark suit asking questions at the diner where she worked. She'd grabbed Leo and disappeared that night. Again in Spokane, a woman with a camera outside Leo's daycare. They'd moved to Boise within 24 hours. Ms. Peterson? A young man in an expensive suit approached. I'm James, Mr. Chen's assistant. He likes to personally meet candidates for all positions. If you'll follow me. Maya's blood turned to ice. That's not, for a cleaning position, surely. Mr. Chen believes every employee matters. James was already walking toward the elevators. It'll just be a moment. This was a mistake. A terrible, catastrophic mistake. Maya's instinct screamed at her to run, but Leo's face flashed in her mind. His fever. His cough. The way he'd asked, "Mama, am I going to be okay?" The elevator climbed. 28th floor. 29th. 30th. Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. Maybe David wouldn't recognize her. She'd lost 20 pounds. Her hair was different. 5 years changed people. The doors opened onto an executive floor that probably cost more than every place she'd lived in combined. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. Abstract art that meant nothing decorated pristine walls. And there, at the end of the hall, a door with a nameplate, David Chen, CEO. Right this way. James knocked twice and opened the door without waiting for a response. Maya's breath caught. David stood by the window, his back to them, phone pressed to his ear. Broader shoulders than she remembered. Expensive suit. Hair slightly longer. But when he turned, when those dark eyes met hers, time collapsed. The phone slipped from his hand, clattering against the desk. Maya.
Maya?
His voice cracked on her name.
You're alive?
You're alive? All the carefully rehearsed lies evaporated. Maya couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, couldn't do anything but stand there as David's face cycled through shock, confusion, and something that looked like pain. I'll just... James backed out of the room, pulling the door closed. 5 years. David's hands clenched into fists. 5 years, Maya. 5 years. I thought, my mother said you left with someone else. That you took money and, he stopped, really looking at her now. At her too thin frame. Her worn clothes. Her desperate eyes. What happened to you? I need this job. The words tumbled out before she could stop them. I came for the job. I shouldn't have, this was a mistake. A job. David's laugh was bitter. You disappeared for 5 years and you came back for a cleaning position at my company? I didn't know it was yours. I did, but I didn't think. Maya backed toward the door. Leo needs medicine. I have $23 and he needs medicine, and I thought. David went very still. Who's Leo? The question hung in the air between them, heavy with implication. Maya's hand found the doorknob. How old is he, Maya? I have to go. How old? 4. The word was barely a whisper. He's 4 years old. The color drained from David's face. He gripped the edge of his desk like it was the only thing keeping him upright. I have a son. David. I have a son and you didn't tell me? His voice rose. You've been raising my child alone for 4 years and you never, he stopped, something clicking into place. She knew. My mother knew. Maya's silence was answer enough. Where is he? David was already grabbing his coat, his keys. Where's my son? He's sick. That's why I need the job. The medicine costs. Sick. David's CEO composure shattered completely. How sick? What's wrong with him? Respiratory infection. High fever. The clinic said he needs antibiotics, but I can't. David was on his phone before she finished. Dr. Patel? David Chen. I need you at Mercy General Emergency Room in 20 minutes. My son, yes, I have a son, respiratory distress. I don't care if you're in surgery, find someone to cover. He ended the call and turned to Maya. Let's go. Now. David, wait. We can talk in the car. Where is he? The Seaside Motel on Aurora. Room 7. But Ms. Rivera is watching him and… David was already moving, his hand on her elbow, guiding her toward the private elevator. James. Clear my schedule for the rest of the week. Family emergency. The ride to the motel took 12 minutes in David's Tesla. 12 minutes of loaded silence where Maya felt his anger, his hurt, his confusion radiating off him in waves. When they pulled up to the rundown motel, David's jaw tightened. You've been living here? It's temporary. We move a lot. Because of my mother. Maya didn't answer. She knocked on Ms. Rivera's door, and the older woman's eyes widened when she saw David, when she saw the expensive car, when she put together what was happening. He's sleeping, Mija. The fever's still high. David pushed past them both, some primal instinct driving him toward his child. He stopped in the doorway of room 7, staring at the small boy curled up on the bed. Even from here, Maya could hear Leo's labored breathing. Lao. David's voice broke as he knelt beside the bed. Hey buddy. Leo's eyes fluttered open, glassy with fever. Mama. I'm here, baby. Maya moved to his other side. This is David. He's going to help. David carefully pressed his palm to Leo's forehead and swore under his breath. He's burning up. How long has he been like this? 3 days. It's getting worse. Without another word, David scooped Leo into his arms, blanket and all. We're going to the hospital. Now. Leo didn't protest, too sick to do more than curl against David's chest. Something in Maya's heart cracked watching David hold their son for the first time, watching him move with the fierce protectiveness of a father who just discovered what he had to lose. The emergency room at Mercy General snapped to attention when David Chen walked through the doors carrying a sick child. Dr. Patel was already waiting, a pediatric team assembled behind him. Exam room 3. Let's see what we're dealing with. The next hour was a blur of tests, x-rays, worried faces. Maya sat in a plastic chair, watching through the window as doctors swarmed around Leo. David never left his side, one hand always touching their son, as if letting go might make him disappear again. Finally, Dr. Patel emerged, his expression serious. It's pneumonia. Early stage, but it needs aggressive treatment. For antibiotics, oxygen support. We're admitting him for at least 3 days. Whatever he needs, David said immediately. Cost isn't an issue. David, Maya started. Cost isn't an issue. He turned to Dr. Patel. The best room you have. Private. And I want round-the-clock nursing. As they moved Leo to a pediatric room, bright walls, comfortable chairs, nothing like the Stark ER, David finally looked at Maya. Really looked at her. Now, he said quietly, dangerously calm. You're going to tell me everything. Starting with why you've been living in motels when you could have come to me. When you should have come to me. Maya sank into the chair beside Leo's bed, exhaustion and fear finally catching up with her. Outside the window, Seattle skyline glittered with promise and wealth, a world away from the life she'd been living. Your mother, she began, her voice hollow. 5 years ago, she found me at the coffee shop where I worked. You were in New York on business. Remember? David nodded, his face hardening. She sat across from me like we were friends. Ordered a latte. And then she told me exactly how she was going to destroy my life if I didn't leave you. Maya's hands twisted in her lap. She had a file, David. Pictures of my mother cleaning houses without papers. Documentation of every minor mistake I'd ever made. She said she'd have me arrested for theft, she'd plant evidence if she had to, that she'd make sure my mother was deported, that I'd lose any custody battle because I had no money, no family, no way to fight back. She threatened you. David's voice was ice. She didn't just threaten me. She promised. She said, David will have the life he deserves, with someone appropriate. You're a waitress. A phase. And I will not let you ruin him. Maya's voice cracked. I didn't know I was pregnant yet. I found out 2 weeks after I left. By then, I was already in Portland, using my maiden name, trying to disappear. David stood abruptly, pacing the small hospital room like a caged animal. You should have told me. We could have fought her together. With what, David? Your mother controls your trust fund. She sits on the board. She has lawyers and connections, and Maya gestured helplessly at Leo. I was pregnant and terrified. I thought I was protecting you. Protecting him. By raising my son in poverty? By living in motels and running from city to city. The anger in David's voice warred with something else. Grief, maybe. Loss. I didn't have a choice. Maya's own anger flared. You think I wanted this? You think I wanted Leo to grow up without his father? I worked 3 jobs while I was pregnant. I lived in shelters. I delivered him at a county hospital where they didn't ask too many questions. And every single day, I wondered if this was the day your mother's investigators would find us. They were looking for you. It wasn't a question. I saw them twice. Portland and Spokane. Both times, we moved within 24 hours. I couldn't risk it, David. If she found us, she'd take him from me. She'd make good on her threats, and I'd lose everything that mattered. David slumped against the wall, his perfect composure finally cracking. I searched for you. 4 months. I hired investigators. I called everyone we knew. Your mother wouldn't speak to me, and I thought, his voice broke. I thought you'd left because I wasn't enough. That my mother was right, that you'd taken money and found someone better. She paid me. Maya's laugh was hollow. I left with $300 and a bus ticket. That's it. They sat in silence, the only sound Leo's steady breathing and the beep of monitors. The 4-drip fed antibiotics into his small arm, and color was already starting to return to his cheeks. He looks like you, David said finally, his eyes on his son. His eyes. His nose. Even sick, I can see it. He has your stubbornness. And your smile, when he's not feeling like this. What's he like? Tell me about him. Maya's expression softened. He's funny. Obsessed with dinosaurs. He can name every single one, even the ones I can't pronounce. He's kind, shares his snacks with other kids even when we don't have much. He asks a million questions. Why is the sky blue? Where does rain come from? Why don't birds have teeth? She smiled through tears. He asked about you once. About his daddy. I told him you were far away but that you loved him very much. Did he believe you? He's 4. He believes everything I tell him. Maya wiped her eyes. I'm sorry, David. I'm so sorry. I thought I was doing the right thing. David moved to sit beside her, close but not touching. My mother told me you were selfish. That you'd used me for money and status. I was heartbroken, but I believed her because, he stopped, jaw clenching. Because I'd always believed her. About everything. And now I have a 4-year-old son recovering from pneumonia because his mother couldn't afford antibiotics. David's voice turned hard. Now I know my mother terrorized a pregnant woman and stole 5 years of my child's life from me. From both of us. What are you going to do? David pulled out his phone. First, I'm making sure you and Leo are taken care of. Then I'm having a conversation with my mother that's about 5 years overdue. He made a series of calls while Maya dozed in the chair beside Leo's bed. She woke to find David draping a blanket over her shoulders and the room filled with shopping bags. Clothes, he explained. For both of you. And I had my housekeeper prepare the guest room in my penthouse. You're not going back to that motel. David. This isn't up for discussion, Maya. You're exhausted. You're barely eating. And Leo needs a stable place to recover. His tone softened. Let me help. Please. Before Maya could respond, Leo stirred, his eyes opening. Mama. Right here, baby. She moved to his bedside. How do you feel? Tired. Thirsty. Leo's gaze shifted to David. Who are you? The question hung in the air. David knelt beside the bed, and Maya saw his hands trembling. My name's David. I'm a friend of your mom's. Oh. Leo studied him with those impossibly perceptive 4-year-old eyes. You look sad. David's laugh caught in his throat. Maybe a little. But I'm happy to meet you. Are you sad because I'm sick? Yeah, buddy. Something like that. Leo considered this. Mama says being sick isn't fun, but it means my body is fighting germs. Like superheroes. Your mama's smart. David glanced at Maya, something complicated passing between them. You know what? I bet once you're feeling better, we could go see some real superheroes. At the movies. Really? Leo's face brightened despite his exhaustion. Mama, can we? We'll see. Maya's voice was thick with emotion. First, you need to rest and get strong. Dr. Patel checked in that evening, pleased with Leo's progress. The antibiotics are working. If he continues improving, we can discharge him in 3 days. But he'll need follow-up care and a stable environment for recovery. He'll have it, David said firmly. That night, after Leo fell asleep, Maya and David sat in the dimly lit hospital room, finally having the conversation they'd avoided for hours. I'm going to see my mother tomorrow, David said. I need you to understand something. What she did, threatening you, forcing you to leave, lying to me, it's unforgivable. David, she's your mother. She's a woman who terrorized my family. There's a difference. His jaw set in a line Maya remembered from their relationship, the stubborn determination that had made her fall in love with him. I won't let her hurt you again. Either of you. What are you going to say to her? The truth. That she doesn't get to control my life anymore. That she'll have no relationship with Leo unless, she can prove she's changed. And that if she ever comes near you with threats again, I'll use every resource I have to protect you. Maya reached for his hand. You've changed. You're different than you were. 5 years of thinking the woman I loved abandoned me will do that. David's thumb traced circles on her palm. I'm sorry I didn't protect you from her before. I was young and stupid and too willing to believe she wanted what was best for me. We were both young. Yeah. David's eyes found Leo. But we're parents now. And parents protect their children. From everyone. Even grandmothers with too much money and not enough heart. The next morning, Dr. Patel declared Leo stable enough to be left with nurses for a few hours. David insisted Maya come with him, and she was too exhausted to argue. They drove to Bellevue in silence, to an estate Maya had only seen once before, the day Diane had made it clear she'd never be welcome. The house was exactly as she remembered. Imposing. Perfect. Cold. Diane was in her sitting room, surrounded by fresh flowers and afternoon light that made everything look like a photograph from Architectural Digest. She looked up when they entered, and her carefully composed expression flickered when she saw Maya. David, darling. I heard about the child. His name is Leo. David's voice cut like ice. Your grandson. The one you knew about for 5 years and said nothing. Diane's teacup rattled slightly as she set it down. I don't know what she's told you. She told me the truth. Finally. Something you've never done. David remained standing, refusing the seat Diane gestured to. You threatened her. You terrorized a pregnant woman. You had her followed. And then you lied to me for 5 years about where she went and why. I protected this family. You protected nothing. David's control shattered. You destroyed my family. You robbed me of watching my son be born. Of his first steps. His first words. 4 years of his life gone, because you couldn't stand that I loved someone you deemed beneath us. Diane's composure cracked. She was a waitress, David. No education, no prospects. You would have thrown your life away. I would have been happy. The words echoed through the pristine room. I would have had the woman I loved and the child we created. Instead, I had 5 years of emptiness while Maya lived in shelters and motels, working 3 jobs, raising our son alone because she was terrified you'd make good on your threats. I did what any mother would do. No. Maya spoke for the first time, her voice steady despite her shaking hands. You did what a cruel, controlling woman does. You saw someone who made your son happy, and you couldn't stand not being the center of his world. So you destroyed us. Diane turned on her, eyes flashing. You have no right to speak to me. I have every right. Maya stepped forward. You threatened my mother with deportation. You said you'd have me arrested on false charges. You told me I'd lose my baby in a custody battle I couldn't afford to fight. So yes, I ran. I spent 5 years looking over my shoulder, moving every time I saw someone who might be your investigator, working jobs that paid under the table so you couldn't track me. And my son, your grandson, nearly died from pneumonia because I couldn't afford $87 for antibiotics. The words hung in the air like accusations. Diane's face paled. You're cut off, David said quietly. No more board position. No more involvement in the company. I'm removing you from my trust fund administration. And you will have no contact with Leo until, if, you can prove you've changed. Really changed. Not just words. Actions. David, please. You can't mean. I mean every word. You chose your pride and your control over my happiness. Now live with that choice. He took Maya's hand. We're leaving. Don't contact us. Don't come to the hospital. Don't send gifts or letters or flowers. When I'm ready, if I'm ready, I'll reach out. Until then, stay away from my family. They walked out, leaving Diane calling after them, her perfect composure finally shattered completely. In the car, Maya's hands shook. That was overdue. David's grip on the steering wheel was white-knuckled. I should have done it 5 years ago. Before she had the chance to hurt you. You didn't know. I should have known. I should have seen who she really was. He glanced at her. I won't make that mistake again. Whatever happens between us, whatever we decide about the future, Leo comes first. Always. Always, Maya agreed. They returned to find Leo awake and asking for dinosaur nuggets. David sent James to find some while Maya helped Leo sip juice. Watching David learn to be a father, how to arrange pillows, how to make Leo laugh, how to read the same dinosaur book 3 times without complaint, something in Maya's chest both broke and healed. 3 days later, Dr. Patel discharged Leo with strict instructions and follow-up appointments. David's penthouse became their temporary home. Leo's room filled with toys. Maya had her own space, carefully separate from David's, both of them navigating this strange new reality. Weeks passed. Leo thrived with proper food, warmth, and medical care. David reduced his work hours, teaching Leo to ride a bike in the building's courtyard. Maya enrolled in community college, studying social work. She wanted to help families like hers, people who fell through the cracks. One evening, 3 months after their reunion, Maya found David on the balcony, looking out at Seattle's lights. She's been in therapy, he said without preamble. My mother. She sent a letter through her therapist. Says she wants to apologize. To try to make amends. What do you think? I think apologies are easy. Changed behavior is hard. David turned to her. But Leo asks about his grandmother sometimes. And maybe, with strict boundaries, we could try supervised visits. Eventually. You're a good man, David Chen. I'm trying to be. He reached into his pocket, pulling out a small box. Maya, I did this wrong the first time. I let my mother's opinion matter more than my own heart. I let fear and doubt keep me from fighting for us. I won't make that mistake again. He opened the box. A simple diamond ring, nothing ostentatious. Marry me. Not because of Leo, though he's the best reason I can think of. But because I never stopped loving you. Because 5 years apart taught me that some things, some people, are worth fighting for. Every single day. Maya's eyes filled with tears. David. Mama. Leo padded onto the balcony in his dinosaur pajamas. Why are you crying? Is David making you sad? David knelt, pulling Leo close. I'm trying to make her happy, buddy. What do you think? Should I marry your mama? Leo's face scrunched in concentration. Will you be my daddy for real then? I'm your daddy for real now. Marriage just means we're all a family. Together. Forever. Like the superheroes? Exactly like the superheroes. Leo turned to Maya with a seriousness only a 4-year-old could muster. Say yes, Mama. I like him. Maya laughed through her tears, pulling both of them into her arms. Yes. Yes, I'll marry you. They stood there on the balcony, three people who'd found each other again after 5 years of pain and loss and survival. Seattle glittered below them, full of promise. And for the first time in longer than she could remember, Maya let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, happy endings were real. Leo tugged on David's sleeve. Can we have dinosaur cake at the wedding? We can have whatever you want, David promised, his eyes never leaving Maya's. Whatever we want, Maya corrected softly. All of us. Together. And in that moment, with her son between them and the man she'd never stopped loving beside her, Maya finally understood what home felt like. Not a place. Not even safety. But this, 3 hearts beating as one, choosing each other, every single day. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. Diane would have to prove herself worthy of Leo's love. Maya would need time to heal from years of trauma. David would learn that being a father meant more than providing. It meant showing up, again and again, in all the small moments that mattered. But for now, under Seattle's stars, they had this, a second chance, hard-won and precious. And they'd fight to keep it. Together. If you want more stories filled with danger, love, power, and heart-stopping twists like this, make sure you subscribe to Prime Story Hub. Turn on notifications so you never miss the next chapter, because trust me, what comes next will shake everything they thought they knew. See you in the next one.